So in light of recent success over at Pixar, it looks like we have got some new announcements for their future movies, some of them including some classics like Monsters, Inc. and Incredibles. Let's talk about it right here. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I know it's been a little bit, but trust me, I'm catching back up on some movie news and watching some movies. How are you? If you guys are new here, we talk about movies every single day. So if that's something that you're interested in, welcome. It looks like Pixar is going back to the well here with some of their classic movies such as Monsters, Inc., Incredibles, even some of the newer ones like Coco. Like I said in the intro, Pixar is kind of on a little win streak here. Obviously, not too long ago, they had the box office success Inside Out 2. I believe that's the highest grossing animated movie of all time now. But then also this weekend, they made $88 million with their original movie, Hoppers. However, Pixar has came out and announced new movies. This is coming to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Monsters, Inc. 3 in the works at Pixar. Incredibles 3 set for a 2028 release. The monsters are returning in a recent profile with the Wall Street Journal promoting Pixar's latest movie, Hoppers, which I just said made $88 million. Congrats to Pixar. The publication revealed that the studio is developing a third Monsters, Inc. film. Monsters, Inc., directed by now Chief Creative Officer Pete Docter, debuted in 2001 and followed Mike and Sully, who work at a power company run by monsters that generate energy from scaring children. The family-friendly film was a huge success at the box office, grossing $528 million worldwide. The franchise later expanded with the prequel film Monsters University, released in 2013, and the Disney Plus series Monsters at Work, which premiered in 2021 and ran for 2 seasons. While no further details were revealed on who would return, the plot, or its director, updates were shared on other future Pixar projects. According to Wall Street Journal, Toy Story 5 is anticipated to be another blockbuster for the studio. Other beloved Pixar films are also continuing. Incredibles 3 is set for release in 2028, while the sequel to Coco is expected in 2029. That's not all, though. We're not just getting sequels. Apparently, Wall Street Journal has also reported that Pixar is developing its first musical. I got some thoughts on that. And that Ono Ghost Market will be a future film inspired by Asian myths about supernatural bazaars where the living and dead interact. All right, so we got a few things to talk about here. Monsters, Inc. 3 being the headliner. My question is this going to be a sequel? Now, this is a beloved film franchise. The 2 movies were pretty, critically acclaimed, and especially the first one, right? Monsters, Inc. is just a classic kids movie. You can't even say it's really a kids movie. It's also for adults. My main question, though, is this going to be a sequel to Monsters, Inc. rather than a prequel like Monsters University? Where are we going to pick up? Are we going to pick up from Monsters, Inc., or are we going to pick up after Monsters University? I have a feeling it's going to be a direct sequel almost to Monsters, Inc. I have a feeling that Pixar is going to go back to that. They liked Monsters University. I think that they had some interesting ideas, and I think a lot of fans actually enjoyed Monsters University more than they thought they would. But I think Monsters, Inc. is just where to go, right? I think you got to go back to the warehouse. I think you got to go back to that company. I think you got to bring Boo back, and she's older with her own kids or something. I don't know, something like that. And this is why I don't write for Pixar. But I think it's going to be a direct sequel to Monsters, Inc. rather than like a Monsters University kind of deal. My second question, why now? I have a feeling why they want to do this now, and we will talk about that later down the line. But why right now? Is there I'm curious to know if there is a story that they just cannot wait to tell, and they want to use the Monsters, Inc. vehicle to tell that story. I wonder why now, and I understand that they have probably been looking to make a sequel to Monsters, Inc. for years, but they got busy, they got caught up with other things. It just wasn't the right time. They also did Monsters University, like I said, but again, why now? That is a question that is going to be prevalent in a lot of this video, so stay tuned for that. But Monsters, Inc. 3 is officially in the works, so there is some excitement to be had with that. All right, let's move on to Incredibles 3. Now, Incredibles 3, they have been in active development with this movie for quite some time now. The last one came out in 2018, so it's been a little bit. It's been 10 years, and right before that, it was 14 years since the original film debuted. So they're taking their sweet time with this trilogy. However, it is still set, and it's now set confirmed for 2028. So we will be getting that 10 years after Incredibles 2. Again, 10 years later, I ask the same question: why now? Why do we continue this franchise? And do we have a story in line for a sequel to Incredibles 2? A lot of people did love Incredibles 2, but I also hear a lot of people didn't really mesh with it as much as they did with the first one. A lot of people said that they took too long making The Incredibles 2, and maybe that's why it felt a little bit flat. I do have a question about The Incredibles itself, though. Is baby Jack Jack still going to be a baby? Are we going to get a time jump? It just makes sense. Are we going to get adult Violet and Dash, and then we're going to have Jack Jack as like a kid? And you know, the two parents, again, this is why I don't write for Pixar, but the two parents passing the torch to the kids, right? And telling them, "Oh, I can't do this anymore. You guys need to take the lead. You guys are the new Incredibles," or whatever. I don't know. Wherever they're going, I just hope Jack Jack grows up. I hope he is not a baby anymore. And the final sequel that we have to talk about, one that I love dearly in my soul, is not soul, but Coco. Coco 2. We are getting a sequel to Coco. I think this one is very overdue. I think that Coco, you know, even though, you know, I don't think every film needs a sequel, I thought Coco did so many things right with the world building and with, you know, the characters, that I thought a Coco 2 sequel would have happened already, or a Coco sequel would have happened already. I love this movie so much. I thought that the first one was just an immaculate piece of storytelling, and it just pulled at your heartstrings. Again, man, the question is why now? And we're going to answer that question already, okay? Because Coco is just one of those movies that I thought was very deserving of a sequel, and I'm glad it's getting a sequel. And we're just going to answer the question: why now? Why is Pixar starting to do these sequels? Why now? Well, I'll tell you why now. Pixar, for the last 6 years, have been making original films. They have been making a lot of original films, and they were able to do that. We only got 6 years of original films because they made sequels like Toy Story 4. They made sequels like Incredibles 2, Cars 3. They made Monsters University back in 2013. Cars 2 again, Toy Story 3. They were able to keep supplementing this need for original content like they have for the entirety of their creation. And they were only able to do that because they made the sequels that made them a buttload of money, right? $1 billion movies. You can do whatever you want after you make $1 billion movie. So what they're doing right now is they are trying to make a lot of money. that's the simple point. They're trying to make a lot of money. And granted, that's amazing. A lot of people, they're going to be negative about this and say, "Oh yeah, they're using these as a cash cow. They don't make original movies anymore. Pixar is washed." Guys, they've been making original films for 6 years. I mean, just look at the everything after Toy Story 4. Onward, a wonderful film. I cried. I cry every single time I watch that movie. Right after that, you have Soul, and then you have Luca, Turning Red, which a lot of people love Turning Red. I don't hear anybody complaining that we got a Turning Red, but oh no, Pixar still does. They're only doing sequels. Well, you have Turning Red right there. Lightyear, I will give you this. This is more like a spin-off, but it's still kind of an original story because it stands on its own, but I'll give you that one. Elemental was a sleeper at the box office and critically acclaimed, but they just make sequels, right? And then you get Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 is that $1 billion movie that is basically giving them an excuse to make more of these original films like Soul, like Onward, like Luca, like Turning Red, like Elemental, because hey, they made $1 billion with that, more like $1.4 billion. You can do anything you want after that, right? So, and then after that, they made Elio, and we talked about Hoppers as well, which is the newest original film that they made, and it's making a lot of money on top of that too. So why now? Because they're trying to make money to make more original films. And they know that movies like Monsters Inc., Incredibles, Coco, those will make a buttload of money. And 2026 is slated to be the biggest movie year in a very long time. So yeah, I think that right now is a perfect time to be announcing Monsters Inc. 3, Incredibles 3, a Coco 2, because that's not all. Look, they're going for the heavy hitters now in order to keep making original films. And one of those films is Oh No, Ghost Market, which was talked about in the article. I don't know what that is. It's an original film though. So they're feeding both sides of the coin here, right? They're feeding both parties, where you get original films, but you can't really get original films unless you make a lot of money. So they go back to the franchises and make money off them. And the fact that it's Pixar, you can't complain about this too, because Pixar makes good films. Give me one bad Pixar movie. You can't name one bad Pixar movie. You just can't. They make good stories, not just for kids, but for people in general. So they're doing this so that they can continue to do that. And I think that is a great business model that Pete Docter is implementing there, because for a while, a lot of people were scared for Pixar, right? A lot of people were scared, but it's the cycle. You make $1 billion movie. Once you make $1 billion movie, you can do whatever you want, right? Same goes for Disney. Little side tangent, but same goes for Disney. You guys say Disney is only making remakes, Disney's only blah, 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 blah. And while I will admit, yes, they are making a lot of remakes, a lot of live action stuff, you also get something original every now and then, like Raya and the Last Dragon. And then once they announce a sequel to Raya and the Last Dragon, everybody will complain, oh my gosh, they can't come up with anything original. They're just going back to the stuff. Well, Raya and the Last Dragon was original. So yeah, guys. Anyway, Oh No, Ghost Market, I think that is fascinating because it does kind of remind me of just that little plot synopsis. It does kind of remind me of like a Spirited Away. So I love Spirited Away. So I wonder if they're going to pull elements from that. Pixar is also creating a new musical film, their first musical film. Pixar is making more blockbusters to take more risks and bigger risks with original films. We all know the stigma about musicals, right? They don't do great at the box office, but this is Pixar. And if they have a lot of money, and I'm not saying like, you know, you can spare a bunch of money just because you make $1 billion, but you kind of can, they can afford to make a musical, take that risk, because look, they have a lot of money and they can always go back to something else later down the line to cover their ass. So that's all I got to say about this, really. I mean, I think it's a smart business decision, but I also see a lot of people saying they're just going back to the well. They're not doing a lot of original things. Guys, they have to do this because that's their business. I'm pretty excited to see all three of them, and including the new original stuff. But let me know down below, what do you think about all of this? I know we talked about a lot. Pixar is they're working, man. They're working, and this is just their very smart business strategy of making sequels so that they can continue to make originals. Don't forget, they spent the last 6 years making original content. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about it down below. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for sitting down, talking with me about some movies. We're going to be doing videos like this all the time. So if you want to join a community of movie fans, go ahead and subscribe down below, like the video, do all that YouTube stuff for me. It helps out the channel a lot. I've been Noah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.